Namo Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Ashtattara Satasya Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I hope all you are doing well. Today we'll be reading from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 22, Qualities of Sri Krishna, further explained. So before we start today, let's pray first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuro Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nityanandamidam Sarvam Premananda Sandikritam Janattam Sadatam Bande Nityananda Jagadgurum Namo Mahabadannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरीतिशे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधो जगतपति गोपेश गोपिका कंत राधा कंत नमस्तुते। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे. So let's begin. Quality of quality of Krishna further explained. 31 quality heroic. A person who is very enthusiastic in military activity and expert in releasing different kind of weapon is called heroic. Regarding Krishna's heroism in fighting, there is a following statement: My dear killer of enemy, just as the elephant, while taking both in the lake, can destroy all the lotus steam within the kind of water by swinging in the trunk. So simply by moving your arm, which are compared to the trunk of elephant, you are killed so many lotus-like enemy. Regarding Krishna's expertise in releasing weapon, when Jarasandha and 13,000 soldiers attacked Krishna's army, they were unable to hurt even one soldier outside of Krishna. This was due to Krishna's expert and military training. This is a unique history of the military art. Compassionate. A person who is unable to bear another distress is called compassionate. Krishna's compassion for distressed person uh, was exhibited when he can release all of the king imprisoned by the uh, Magadendra. While dying, grandfather Bhishma prayed to Krishna and described him as a son that eradicate darkness. The imprisoned by Magadendra were put into dark cell, and when Krishna appeared, there was a darkness immediately disappeared, just as if the sun had risen. In other words, although Magadendra was unable to imprison so many kings, upon the appearance of Krishna, there were all released. Krishna released all kings out of his sincere compassion for them. Krishna's compassion was also exhibited when grandfather Bhishma was lying on the bed of the arrow which had been shot through the body. While lying in the position, Bhishma was very anxious to see Krishna, and thus Krishna appeared there. Upon seeing the pitiable condition of the Krishna began speaking with tear in his eye. Not only was he shedding tear, uh, but also, but he also forgot himself in his compassion. Therefore, instead of offering obeisances to Krishna directly, devotee can offer obeisances to his compassionate nature. Actually, because Krishna is a supreme personality God, it is difficult to approach him. But the devotee taking advantage of his compassionate nature, which is represented by Radharani, always pray to Radharani for Krishna's compassion. Respectful. A person who show adequate respect to the respect to spiritual master, Brahmana, an old person, it is to be understood as a being respectful. When a superior person assembled before Krishna, when superior person assembled before Krishna, Krishna first all of respect to another spiritual master. Then his father, then to his elder brother Balarama. In this way, Lord Krishna, lotus eyed, was completely happy and pure all heart, all his dealing. 34 genital. Any person who neither become impudent nor exhibit the puffed up nature is called gentle. The example of the Krishna's gentle behavior was manifested when he was coming to the arena of the Rashtriya sacrifice arranged by the Magadandra Yudhishthira. Maharaja Yudhishthira, arranged by Maharaja Yudhishthira, Krishna's older cousin. Maharaj Yudhishthira knew that Krishna was a supreme personality godhead, and he was attempting to get down from his chariot and receive Krishna. But before Yudhishthira could get down, Lord Krishna got down from his own chariot and immediately fell at the feet of the king. Even though Krishna had the supreme personality godhead, he never forgot to show the social etiquette in his dealing. Liberal, any person who is by his nature behavior is very mild is called liberal. A statement by Uddhava after the Samantaka jewel plundering confirmed that Krishna is so kind and favorable that if a servitor is accused even of the great offense, Krishna does not take it into consideration. He simply his he simply considered the several he simply considered the service that is rendered by his devotee. Sai. A person who sometimes exhibit the humbly and the bashfulness. Bashfulness is called shy. As described in the Lalit Madhava, Krishna's shyness was manifested when he lifted Govardhan hill by the little finger of his left hand. All of the gopi were observing Krishna's wonderful achievement, and Krishna was smiling at seeing the gopi. When Krishna glanced went over the breast of the gopi, his hand began to shake, and upon seeing his hand shake, all of the cowherd men undertake the heel become a little disturbed. Then there was a tumultuous roaring sound, and all they began to pray to Krishna for safety. At this time, Lord Balarama was smiling, thinking that these cowherd men had been frightened by the shaking of Govardhan Hill. But seeing Balarama smile, Krishna thought that Balarama had understood his mind in observing the breast of the gopi. He immediately began bashful. Protector of surrendered soul. Krishna is the protector of surrendered soul. Some enemy of the Krishna was irrelevant with the thought that he did not fear Krishna because if he simply surrounded unto him. If he simply surrendered unto him, Krishna would give him all protection. Krishna is sometimes compared to the moon, which does not hesitate to distribute it shooting ray even on the house of the Chandala or other untouchable. Happy. Any person who is always joyful and untouched by any distress is called happy. As far as Krishna's enjoyment is concerned, it is stated that the ornament that decorated the body of the Krishna, his queen, were beyond the dream of Kubera, the treasure of heavenly kingdom. The constant dancing before the door of Krishna's palace was not to be imagined even by the demigod of heavenly kingdom. It is the heavenly kingdom. Indra always see the dancing of the society girl, but even Indra could not imagine how beautiful were the dances being performed at the gate of the Krishna's palace. Gauri means white. Gauri means white woman. Lord Shiva Lord Shiva's wife is called Gauri. The beautiful woman residing within the palace of Krishna were so much whiter than Gauri. Then they were compared to the moonshine, and they were constantly visible to Krishna. Therefore, no one can be enjoying more than Krishna. The conception of enjoyment is a beautiful woman, ornament, and riches. All of these were fabulously present in the palace of Krishna, defeating even the imagination of Kubera, Lord Indra, and Lord Shiva. Not even a shy distress can touch Krishna. Once, some of the gopi went to the palace when the Brahmana were performing sacrifice and said, "Dear wives of the Brahmana, you must know that not even a slight smell of the distress can touch Krishna. No less, no defamation. He has no fear. He has no anxiety. He does not know the calamity. He simply encircled by the dancer of the Broja is enjoying their company in the rasa dance. Well wisher of his devotee. It is said of Krishna's devotee that if they offer even a little water of the tulsi leaf in the devotion to Lord Vishnu is so kind that he will kind of sell himself to them. Krishna favoritism towards his kind of devotee was exhibited in the fight with Bhishma. When grandfather Bhishma was kind of lying at the point of the death on the bed of the arrow, Krishna was present kind of before him, and Bhishma was remembering how Krishna had been kind to him on the battlefield. Krishna had promised that in the battle Kurukshetra he would not even touch a weapon to help either side. He would kind of remain neutral. Although Krishna was Arjuna's charioteer, he had promised that would not help Arjuna by using any weapon. One But one day, kind of Bhishma, in order to nullify Krishna's promise, exhibit his fighting spirit so magnificently against Arjuna that Krishna was obliged to get down from the kind of chariot, taking up a kind of broken chariot wheel. He ran towards the grandfather Bhishma as a lion run elephant towards a kind of elephant and they kill it. Grandfather Bhishma Grandfather Bhishma remembered this scene, and he later praised Krishna for his glorious favoritism towards his devotee Arjuna, even at the risk of breaking his own promise. Controlled by love, Krishna become obliged to get loving spirit of the devotee and not exactly to the service rendered. No one can serve Krishna completely. He is so complete that self-sufficient that he has no need of any service from the devotee. It is the devotee's attitude of love and affection for Krishna that makes him obliged. A very nice example of the obligatory behavior was manifested when Sudama Vipra went to Krishna's palace. Sudama Vipra had been a close friend of Krishna, and due to his poverty, he was induced by his wife to see Krishna to request some aid. When Sudama Vipra reached Krishna's palace, Krishna Krishna received him very well, and both he and his wife washed the feet and Sudama Vipra, showing respect to the Brahmana. Remembering his loving affair with Sudama in the childhood, Krishna began to shed a tear while receiving him. Another instance of Krishna's obligation or to his devotee is described in the 10th canto, 9th chapter, verse 18 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Sukdev Goswami tell King Pariksit, "My dear king, when Mother Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna up with a rope, Krishna agreed to allow her to bind him. Krishna, as a child, was disturbing his mother by his naughty activity, and she wanted to bind him up. Mother Yashoda brought some rope from the house and tried to tie up the child. But she could not tie a knot due to the shortness of the rope. She tied together many rope, but she finished still the rope was too short. After a while, she felt very tired and began to perspire. At that time, Krishna arranged to be kind of bound up by his mother. In other words, no one can bind Krishna by any other mean other than love. He is bound only by obligation to his devotee because of their ecstatic love for him. All auspicious. A person who is always engaged in auspicious welfare activity of everyone is known as all auspicious. After the disappearance of Lord Krishna from the planet, Uddhava began to remember the activity of the Lord and said, Krishna satisfied all the great sages by his wonderful pastime. He demolished all the demoniac activity of the cruel royal order, protected all pious men, and killed all the cruel fighter on the battlefield. Therefore, he is all auspicious for all men, most powerful. A person who can always put his enemy into calamity is called powerful. A person who can always put his enemy into calamities is called powerful. When Krishna was present on the planet, just as a powerful sun drive all darkness to take shelter in cove, he drove away he drove away all of his enemy who fled like owl to take to take shelter behind his side, all famous. A person who become well known due to his spotless character is called famous. It is stated that the diffusion of Krishna's fame is like the moonshine, which turn darkness into light. In other words, if Krishna consciousness is preached all over the world, the darkness of ignorance and anxiety of the material existence will turn into the whiteness of purity and peacefulness and prosperity. When the great sages Narada was chanting the glory of the Lord, the bluish line of on the neck of the Lord Shiva disappeared. Upon seeing this, Gauri, the wife of Lord Shiva, suspect Lord Shiva of being someone else disguised as her husband, and out of fear she immediately left his company. Upon hearing the chanting of Krishna's name, Lord Balarama saw that his dress had become white, although he was generally accustomed to the bluish dress. And the cowherd girl saw all over the water of Yamuna river turn into milk. So they began to churn it into butter. In other word, by the spreading Krishna consciousness or the glory of the Krishna, everything become white and pure. 44. Popular. Any person who is very dear to people is general is called popular man. For a Krishna's popularity, there is a statement in the first canto, 11th chapter, verse 9, Srimad Bhagavatam, that deal with his returning home from the capital of Hastinapur. While he had been absent from Dwarika at the battle of the Kurukshetra, all the citizens of Dwarika had become morose. Then, when he returned, the citizen joyfully received him and said, "Dear Lord, while you were absent from the city, we passed our day in the darkness of the night. As in the darkness of the night, every moment appeared to be long duration of time. So while gone, you were gone. Every moment appeared to us like a million of years. Your separation is completely unbearable to us." This statement shows how popular Krishna was all over the country. A similar incident occurred when Krishna entered in the arena of the sacrifice arranged by King Kamsa for his death. As soon as he entered the place, all the sages began to cry, Jaya, Jaya, all the sages began to cry Jaya Jaya Jaya, which means victory. Krishna was the boy at the time, and all the sages offered their respectful obeisances to him. The demigods who were present also began to offer respectful prayer to Krishna, and the ladies and the girls uh, present expressed their joy from all corner of the arena. In other words, there was no one in the particular place with whom Krishna was not very popular. uh, there was no one in the particular place with whom Krishna was not very popular. Partial to devotee. Although Krishna is the supreme personality Godhead, is therefore not partial to anyone. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the that he has a special attention for the devotee who worship his name in love and affection. When Krishna was on his planet, one devotee expressed his feelings in this way: "My dear Lord, if you had not appeared on the planet when the Asura demon and the atheist who would have surely created havoc against the activity of the devotee. I cannot imagine the magnitude of such devastation prevented by your presence. From the very beginning of his appearance, Krishna was the greatest enemy of demoniac person. Although the Krishna's enmity towards the demon is actually comparable to his friendship with his devotee. This is because any demon who is killed by Krishna received immediate salvation. Very attractive to all women. Any person who has a special qualification become immediately very attractive to women. Any person who has a special qualification become immediately very attractive to women. A devotee made the following statement about the Queen of Dwarika. How shall I describe the glory of the Queen of Dwarika who were personally engaged in the service of the Lord? The Lord is so great that simply by enchanting his name, all the great sages like Narada can enjoy transcendental bliss. So, what can what can be said about those queen who were at every moment seeing the Lord and serving his personally. 16,108 wife in Dwarika. Each and every one of them was attracted to Krishna just as iron attracted by the magnet. There is a kind of statement by the devotee, my dear Lord, you are just like a magnet, and all the damsel of the Braja are just like iron. In kind of whichever direction you are moving, they are following you, as iron is attracted by magnetic force. All worshipable. A person who is respected and worshipped by all kind of human being and demigod is called Sharvadhya, all worshipable or all worshipable. Krishna is worshipped not only by the living entity, including the great demigod like Lord Shiva and Brahma, but by Vishnu expansion form of God, such as Baladeva and Sesha. Vishnu expansion such as Baladeva and Sesha. Baladeva is a direct expansion of Krishna, but he is still accept Krishna as worshipable. When Krishna appeared in the arena of the Rashtriya sacrifice organized by Maharaj Yudhishthira to all present, including the great sages of demigod, Krishna became the cynosure, the center of the attraction, and everyone offered to him respect. All opulent. Krishna is a full of all opulence, namely strength, wealth, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. When Krishna was present in Dwarika, his family, which is known as the Yadu dynasty, consisted of 56 million members, and all of these family members were very obedient and faithful to Krishna. There were more than 9 lakh big pa- um, palatial building there to house all the people, and everyone in them respected Krishna uh, as the most worshipable. Devotees were astonished to see the opulence of Krishna. This is very this is this was verified by Billamangal Thakur. This was verified by Billamangal and Thakur when the Krishna Billamangal and Thakur when the Krishna in the Krishna Karanamrita, he addressed Krishna as, "My dear Lord, what can I say about the opulence of your Vrindavana? Simply, the ornament on the leg of the damsel of the Vrindavan are more than Chintamani, and their dresses are so good, are are as good as the heavenly Parijatakana flower, and the cows exactly resemble the Suravi cow in the transcendental level. Therefore, your opulence is just like the ocean that no one can measure, all honorable. A person who is the chief among all important person is called all honorable. When Krishna was living in Dwarika, demigods like Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, the king of heaven, and many other used to come to visit him. The doorkeeper who had to manage the entrance, all of the demigod were one very busy day said, my dear Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, please sit down on the bench and wait. My dear Indra, please desist from reading your prayer. This is creating disturbance. Please wait silently. My dear Varuna, please go away. My my dear demigod, do not waste your time uselessly. Krishna is very busy. He cannot see you. The supreme controller. There are two kind of controller or lord. One who is independent is called controller, and one whose order cannot be neglected by anyone is called controller. Regarding Krishna's complete independence and lordship, Srimad Bhagavatam says that although Kaliya was a great offender, Krishna is favored by him by marking his head and the lotus feet on his lotus with his lotus feet, whereas Lord Brahma, although having the prayed to Krishna with so many wonderful verses, still could not attract him. The contradictory treatment by Krishna is just befitting his position, because in all the Vedic literature, he is described as a complete independent. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord is described as a Swarat, Swarat, which means completely independent. That is the position of the supreme absolute truth. The absolute truth is not only sentiment, but is also completely independent. As for Krishna's order not being neglected by anyone, in Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, second chapter, verse 21, Uddhava says, Vidura, Lord Krishna is a master of three mode of material nature, and he is the enjoyer of the opulence, and therefore there is no one equal to or greater than him. All the great king and emperor can use to come before him, offer their gift, and pay obeisances with their helmet at the feet of the Lord. One devotee can say, my dear Krishna, when you order Brahma, now you may create the universe, and when you order Lord Shiva, now you dissolve the material manifestation. You are in this way creating and dissolving the material creation yourself, simply by your order and by your partial representation of Vishnu. You can maintaining the universe. In this way, O Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, there is so many. 51. Changeless. Krishna does not change his constitutional position, not even when he appears in the material world. Ordinary living entity have their constitutional spiritual position covered. They appear in the different body, and under the different bodily concept of life, they act. But Krishna does not change his body. He appear in his own body, and therefore not affected by the mode of material nature. In the first canto, 12th chapter, verse 38, Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the special prerogative of the supreme controller is that he is not at all affected by the mode of nature. The practical example is of this is the devotee who are under the protection of the Lord are also not affected by material nature. To overcome the influence of the material nature is very difficult, but the devotee or the saintly person who are the under protection of the Lord are not affected. So what need is there to speak of Lord Himself? To be kind of more clear, although the Lord sometime appear in this material kind of world, he has nothing to do with the mode of material nature. He act kind of with the full independence of the transcendental position. This is the kind of special quality of Lord. 52. All cognizant. Any person who can understand the feeling of all person and incident in all place at all time is called all cognizant. A nice example of all cognizant quality of the Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 15th chapter, verse 11, in the connection with the Durvasa Muni visit to the house of the Pandava in the forest. Following a calculated plan, Duryodhana sent Durvasa Muni Durvasa Muni in 10,000 disciples to become a guest in the Pandava guest in the Pandava in the forest. Duryodhana can arrange for Durvasa and his men to reach the place of the Pandava just as the Pandava launched time ended, so that the Pandava would be caught without sufficient mean to feed such a large number of guests. Knowing Duryodhana's plan, Krishna came to the Pandava and asked their wife Draupadi if there were any remnant of food that could offer to him. Draupadi offered a container in which there was only a little fragment of rice vegetable preparation. Krishna at once ate it. At that moment, all the sage accompanying Durvasa was taking both in the river, and when Krishna felt satisfaction from the eating Draupadi's offering, they also felt satisfaction, and their hunger were gone because Durvasa and his men were unable to eat anything more, and they went away without coming into the house of Pandavas. In this way, Pandava were saved from the wrath of Durvasa. Durvasa Durvasa has sent them because Durvasa had taken a sent them because he knew that since the Pandava would not be able to receive such a large number, Durvasa would become very angry, and the Pandava would become cursed. Krishna saved them from the calamity by his trick and by his all cognizant quality. Ever phrase. Krishna is always remembered by, and his name is always chanted by the million of devotee. But the devotee can never become saturated. Instead of becoming interested in thinking of Krishna in the chanting of the holy name, the devotee get newer and newer impetuous to continue the process. Therefore, Krishna is ever face. Not only Krishna himself, but also Krishna's knowledge is ever face. Bhagavad Gita, which were imported 5,000 years ago, in this still being read repeatedly by many men, and still new light is always being found in it. Therefore, Krishna in his name, fame, quality, and every thing in relationship with him is ever praised. All the queen of the Dwarika were the goddess of fortune. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 11th chapter, verse 33, that goddess of fortune are very fickle and restless. So no one can consist. So no one can consistently captivate them. Thus, one luck will always change sometime. Yet the goddess of fortune could not leave Krishna for even a moment when they were residing with him at Dwarika. This means that Krishna's attraction is ever fresh. Even the goddess of the fortune cannot leave his company. Regarding Krishna's attractive feature being ever fresh, there is a statement by Radharani in the Lalit Madhava, in which Krishna is compared to the greatest sculpture because he is expert in chiseling at the chastity of women. In other words, although chaste women may follow the rules and regulation of the Vedic principle to become ever the faithful to their husband, Krishna is able to break their stone-like chastity with the chisel of his beauty. Most of the girlfriend of Krishna were married, but because Krishna was their friend before their marriage, they could not forget his attractive feature, which were always fascinating to them even after their marriage. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Krishna's transcendental body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Sat means ever existing for all the time, in all the places, in other word, all pervading in all time and space. Chit means full of knowledge. Krishna is nothing to learn from anyone. He is independently full of all knowledge. Ananda means the reservoir of all pleasure. The impersonalists are seeking to merge into the Brahman effulgence of eternity and the knowledge. But the major portion of the absolute pleasure which is in Krishna is avoided by them. No one can enjoy the transcendental blissful of the merging into the Brahman effulgence after being free from the contamination of the material illusion, false identification, attachment, detachment, and material absorption. There are the preliminary qualification of the person who can realize the Brahman. It is stated Bhagavad Gita that one has to become full of joyfulness. This is not exactly joyfulness, but a sense of freedom from all anxiety. Freedom from all anxiety may be the first principle of joyfulness, but it is not actually joyfulness. There was who realize Those who realize the self or become the Brahmabhuta are only the preparing themselves for the platform of joyfulness. The joyfulness can actually be achieved only when one come into the contact with the Krishna. Krishna consciousness is so complete that it includes the transcendental pleasure derived from the impersonal Brahman realization. Even the impersonalist will become attracted to the personal form of Krishna known as Shyamsundara. It is confirmed by the statement of Brahma Samhita that the Brahman effulgence is the bodily ray of the Krishna. The Brahman effulgence is simply the exhibition of the energy of Krishna. Krishna is the source of the Brahman effulgence, as he himself confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. From this, we can conclude that the impersonal feature absolute truth is not only ultimate end. Krishna is the ultimate end of the absolute truth. The member of the Vaishnava school therefore never try to merge into the Brahman effulgence in their pursuit of the spiritual perfection. They accept Krishna as the ultimate goal of self-realization. Therefore, Krishna is called the Parabrahman, the Supreme Brahman, the Parameshwara, the Supreme Controller. Sri Jamunacharya has prayed as follows: My dear Lord, I know that the gigantic universe and gigantic space and time within the universe are covered by the 10 layer of the material element, each the layer 10 times larger than the previous one. The three material mode of nature, Gravadashaya Vishnu, Kridashaya Vishnu, and Mahavishnu, are beyond them in the spiritual sky. And the spiritual planet known as the Vaikuntha, the Brahma effulgence in the spiritual sky. All these are taken together are nothing but a very small exhibition of pure potency. Processing all mystic perfection. There are many standards of perfection. The highest material perfection obtained by the perfect yogi are listed as eight. To become the smallest to small, smallest to the small, to become the greatest of the great, etc. All of this material perfection as well as all spiritual perfection can be found fully Krishna's personality. Krishna's inconceivable potency. Krishna is present everywhere, not only within the universe, not only within the heart of all living entity, but also within every atom. In the prayer of the Queen Kunti, we find mention of this inconceivable potency of Krishna. While Krishna was talking with the Kunti, he simultaneously entered in the womb of Uttara, who was in danger due to the atomic open of Ashwatthama. Krishna was illusion, even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. He can protect all the surrendered devotee from the reaction of sinful activity. These are some example of the inconceivable potency. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore offered the obeisances unto the Krishna by saying, Krishna, who is the present of the human being, has as he is a kind of mere kind of shadow of the whole material nature. He has expanded himself kind of into the so many kind of cows, calf, and cowherd boy. He has again manifested himself in all of them and 400 Narayana. 400 Narayana. He has taught millions of Brahma self-realization, and thus he is worshipable not only by the head of all universe, but everyone else also. Therefore, let me always accept him as a supreme personality, Godhead. When Indra was defeated by Krishna in the matter of taking Parijata planet from the heaven, Narada met Indra and criticized him. O Indra, great of King Heaven, Krishna was already defeated Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. So what can be said of insignificant demigod like you? Narad Muni, of course, was criticizing Indra jokingly. Indra enjoyed it. In Narad's statement, it is confirmed that Krishna was able to illusion even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, even as well as Indra. So there is no question of Krishna's power to do the same, the lesser living entity same to lesser living entity. A description of Krishna's power is minimizing the suffering of the Lord, minimizing the suffering of sinful reaction in given in Brahma Samhita as follows. Beginning from the great king of heaven down to the end, everyone is undergoing the reaction of the past deed. But the devotee of the Krishna is relieved from such reaction by the grace of Krishna. There was clearly proved when Krishna went to the place of Yamraja, Lord of Death, to reclaim the dead son of his teacher. Krishna's teacher had requested Krishna to bring back his dead son, and to do so, Krishna went to the palace of Yamraja to claim that soul. When he had been brought there by Yamraja and was being kept under the control, Krishna immediately ordered Yamraja benefited by be benefited by my order and returned that soul unto me. The purport of the incident is that even the person who is under the regulative principle of law of nature, who is therefore punishable by Yamraja under this law, can be granted complete immunity by the grace of Krishna. Krishna inconceivable potency have been described in Shukdev Goswami as follows. Krishna is bewildering my intelligence because although he is unborn, he is appeared as a son of Nanda Maharaja. He is all pervading, but still he is held on the lap of Yashoda. In spite of being all pervasive, he has become limited by the love of Yashoda. So, although he has innumerable form, still he is moving as one Krishna before his father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. In Brahma Samhita also it is said, although Krishna is eternally living in Goloka Vrindavan, his transcendental abode, he is still present everywhere, even within an atom. Krishna's body generate innumerable universe. In the 10th chapter, in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 11, Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma says, my dear Lord, false ego, intelligence, mind, sky, air, fire, water, earth are the material integration of the universe, which can be compared to the gigantic pot. In the gigantic pot, many body of insignificant measurement, even though no one can, no, even though one of many universes created by me, innumerable universes are coming and going in the pore of the body, just as atomic particle are seeing flickering in the sunlight. In I think I am very, very insignificant before you. I am therefore begging your pardon. Please be merciful towards me. If on one take account of only one universe, he will find so many combination of wonderful thing within, because there are innumerable planet, innumerable residents and palace of demigod. The diameter of the universe is 4 billion mile. 4 billion mile. It is it is infested with many unfathomable region of Patala and lower planetary ecosystem. Although Krishna is origin of all this, he can always be seen in Vrindavan exhibiting his conceivable potency. So who can adequately worship such a all-powerful Lord process of such inconceivable energy? Who can adequately worship such an all-powerful Lord process of such inconceivable energy? The original source of all incarnation. The Jayadev Goswami in the Gita Govinda has sung the follow: The Lord has saved the Veda from in a form of as a fish, and he had taken a board the whole universe on his back in the form of tortoise. He has picked up the earthly planet from the water in the form of board. He has killed Hiranyakashipu in the form of Nishinga. He has cheated Maharaj Bali in the form of Bamana. He has annihilated all the dynasty of the Kshatriya in form of Parshunama. He has killed all the demon in the form of Lord Ram. He has accepted the great taken plow in form of Balarama. He has annihilated all the atheistic person in form of Kalki. And he has saved all the poor animal form in form of Lord Buddha. These are some of the description of all incarnation emanating from Krishna. And from Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that innumerable incarnation are always coming out from the body of the Krishna, just like a wave of ocean. No one can even count how many waves there are, and similarly, no one can count how many incarnation are coming from the Lord's body. Krishna gives the salvation the enemy that he killed. Another name of salvation, for salvation is apavarga. Apavarga is opposite pavarga. Pavarga, the various miserable condition of material existence. The word pavarga indicate the combination of the five Sanskrit letter pa, fa, ba, va, ma. These letter are the five letter of the word of the five different condition of the described below. The first letter pa comes from word Parabhava, which means defeat. In the material struggle for existence, we simply meeting defeat. Actually, we have to conquer both death, disease, and old age because there are no possibility of overcoming all these miserable conditions. Due to the illusion of Maya, we are simply meeting the Parabhava or defeat. The next letter for is taken from the word Fena. Fena is a foam which is found in the mouth when one is very tired, uh, as commonly observed with the horses. A later va comes from the word vanda or bondage. Va is taken from the word vritti or fearfulness. Ma is taken from the word vritti or death. So the word Pavarga signifies our struggle from existence and our meeting with the defeat, execution, bondage, fearlessness, at least second death. Apavarga means that which can nullify of this material condition. Material condition, Krishna is said to be the giver of Apavarga, the path of liberation. From the impersonalist, that the enemy of the Krishna, liberation means merging into the Supreme. The demon and the impersonalists do not care for Krishna. But Krishna is so kind, he gives the liberation even so his enemy and to the impersonalist. There is a following statement in the connection: O Murari, how wonderful it is that although the demon who were always envious of the demigod have failed to penetrate your military phalanx, that they have penetrated the region of Mitra, the sun globe. The word Mitra is used metaphorically. Metaphorically, the Mitra means the sun globe, and the Mitra also means friend. The demon who appeared Krishna as enemy wanted to penetrate the military phenomena, but instead of doing this, they died in the battle. and the result, as a kind of result, was that they penetrated the planet of the kind of Mitra and the sun planet. In other kind of word, In other words, they entered into the Brahman effulgence. The example of the sun planet is given here because the sun is ever illuminating, like the spiritual sky. When there is an innumerable illuminating Vaikuntha planet, the enemy of Krishna were killed. Instead of penetrating Krishna's panelex, they entered into the friendly atmosphere of the spiritual effulgence. That is the mercy of Krishna, and therefore is known as the deliverer of all enemies also, the attractor of liberated soul. There are many examples of how Krishna is attracted. Krishna attracted even the great liberated soul like Sukdev Goswami and the Kumaras. In the connection, the following statement was given the Kumara. How wonderful it is that although we are completely liberated, free from the desire and the situated in the stage of the Paramhansa, we are still aspiring to test the pastime of Radha and Krishna, perform a wonderful activity. In the Brihad Bhamana Purana, Lord says, although I have many fascinating pastime, whenever I think of the Raslila which I perform in the Gopi, I begin eager to have it again. One devotee has said, I know about Narayana, the husband of goddess of fortune, and I also know about the many other incarnation of the Lord. Certainly, all the pastime of such incarnation are exciting to my mind, but still, the pastime of the last lila performed by the Lord Himself are wonderfully increasing my transcendental pleasure. Krishna is surrounded by all loving devotee. When we speak of Krishna, Krishna is not alone. Krishna means his name, his quality, his fame, his friend, his paraphernalia, his entronage. All of these are included. When we speak of the king, it is to be understood that he is surrounded by the minister, secretary, military commander, and many other people. Similarly, Krishna is not impersonal. In his Vrindavana Lila, especially, he is surrounded by the gopi, cowherd boy, his father and mother, and all the inhabitant of Vrindavana. In the 10th canto, verse 31st chapter, verse 15 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Gopi lament, my dear Krishna, during the daytime when you go out into the forest of Vrindavana with your cow, you consider one moment to be 12 in a year, and it is very difficult for us to pass the time and again when you come back at the end of the day by seeing your beautiful face we are so much attracted that we are unable to stop looking upon you constantly at this time when there is an occasional blinking of our eyelid, we condemn the creator of Lord Brahma as they can advance because he does not know how to make perfect eyes. In other words, the gopi were disturbing by the blinking of Gopis were disturbed by the blinking of their eyes because for the moment that their eyes were closed, they could not see Krishna. This means that the Gopis' love for Krishna was so great and ecstatic that they were disturbed by even the momentary absence. And when they saw Krishna, they were also disturbed. This is paradox. One gopi expressing himself to Krishna said, when we can meet you at night, we consider the duration of night to be very small. And why speak of only this night? Even if we had a night of Brahma, we would consider it a very short time. We can get an idea of the Brahma said Brahma day from the following statement. Bhagavad Gita, by human calculation, 1,000 yoga cycle taken together is Brahma one day, and such also duration is of his night. The Gopi said that even if they could have the duration of night, it would still not be sufficient for their meeting with Krishna. Krishna's attractive flute. In the 10th canto, 35th chapter, verse 15 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Gopis tell Mother Yashoda, when your son play on his flute, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, although they are supposed to be greatest learned scholar or personality, all become bewildered, although they are all very great personality. By hearing the sound of Krishna's flute, they humbly bow down and become grave from starting of the sound vibrated. In the book, Vidagdha Madhava, Sri Rupa Goswami thus described the vibration of the Krishna's flute. The sound vibration created by the flute of Krishna wonderfully stopped in the Lord Shiva from the playing his Dindima drum. And the same flute has caused the great sages like four Kumara to become disturbed in their meditation. It has caused Lord Brahma, who was sitting in the lotus flower in the creative function, to become astonished, and the Anantadeva, who was calmly kind of holding the planet on his hood, was moving in this kind of way, and due to the transcendental vibration from the Krishna's flute, which is penetrated through the covering of the universe and reach the spiritual sky. Krishna's exec- excu- exquisite beauty. In the third canto, second chapter, verse 12, Srimad Bhagavatam, Uddhava tell Kana Vidura, my dear Kana sir, Krishna's form was most wonderful when he appeared in the planet and exhibit the potency of his internal potency. His wonderful, attractive form were present during the pastime on the Kana planet, and by his internal potency, he exhibited his opulence with are striking to everyone. His personal beauty was so great that there is no necessary for is a wearing ornament on his body. In fact, instead of the ornament beautifying the Krishna beautify and enhance the ornament. Regarding the attractiveness of the Krishna's bodily beauty and the sound vibration of his flute in the 10th canto, 29th chapter, verse 40, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Gopi addressed Krishna as follows. Although our attitude towards you resemble loving affair with a paramour, we cannot but wonder at how no woman can maintain her chastity upon hearing the vibration from your flute. And not only can women, but even the strong-hearted men are subject to kind of falling down from their kind of position at the sound of your flute. In fact, we have seen that the Vrindavana, even the kind of cows, deer, bird, trees, everyone had been enchanted by the kind of sweet vibration of your flute. And this fascinating beauty of beauty of your person. In Rupa Goswami Lalit Madhava, it is said, one day Krishna happened to see the shadow of the beautiful form of the reflected of the jewelry in the foreground. Upon seeing the bodily reflection, he expressed his feeling, how wonderful it is that I have never seen such a beautiful form. Although it is my own form, still like a Radharani, I am trying to embrace this form and enjoy celestial bliss. This statement shows how Krishna and his shadow reflection are one and the kind of same. There are no difference between Krishna and his shadow reflection, nor between the Krishna and his picture. That is the transcendental position of Krishna. The above statement describes some of the wonderful reservoir of pleasure within the Krishna, as well as the transcendental quality of the personality. The transcendental quality of Krishna are compared to the ocean. No one can estimate the length and breadth of the ocean, but as one can understand the ocean contains simply by the tasting one drop of it. So, this statement will give us some understanding of Krishna's transcendental position and quality. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 7 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma says, my dear Lord, the inconceivable quality, beauty, and activity which have you revealed by your presence on this planet cannot be calculated by any material measurement. If one even try to imagine Krishna may be like this, that is also impossible. The day may come when the material scientists, after many births, after many years, will able to estimate the atomic constitution of the whole world, or he may be able to count the atomic fragment that permitted permitted the sky, or he may give the estimate of all the atom within the universe, but still he
but still he will never be able to count the transcendental quality in your reservoir of transcendental bliss. Hare Krishna. So here we conclude the reading of a.
Today, we're diving into something pretty amazing from the Vedic tradition, a detailed list of 64 qualities that together paint a portrait of Krishna. Now, this isn't just a list of superpowers. It's way deeper than that. It's a look into the actual character of the divine, presented as a complex, relatable person. And that right there brings us to the central puzzle, doesn't it? How can one single person embody these huge contradictions? I mean, on one hand, you have this intimate, gentle friend, and on the other, the cosmic engine of all existence. So in this explainer, we're going to journey right into the heart of that paradox. Here's how we'll break it down. We're going to start with the familiar and work our way up to the truly transcendent. We'll begin with his most personal, human-like side in the hero's compassion. Then, we'll look at how he connects with others as the magnet of love. After that, we zoom way out to see him as the supreme controller, and we'll finish up by wrestling with the mind-bending ideas in the inconceivable source. Okay, so let's start with the qualities that really make this supreme being feel, well, accessible. The ones that paint a picture of someone who feels things deeply, just like we do. First on the list is compassion. And the way the source text defines it is really powerful. It's not just feeling sorry for someone. It's the inability to stand seeing someone else in pain. It's a visceral, active response to suffering, not just some passive sympathy. You see this play out in this incredibly moving scene from the battlefield. Krishna sees the great warrior Bhishma dying, literally lying on a bed of arrows. And he doesn't just offer some stoic words of comfort. He's so moved that he starts to cry. This is so important because it frames the divine not as some distant, cold entity, but as someone who genuinely shares in our pain. Now, what's fascinating is how this supreme status contrasts with qualities like respectfulness and gentleness. The texts describe him as someone who is incredibly careful about social etiquette, bowing to his elders, his teachers, and is never, ever arrogant. Think about this scene for a second. His older cousin, King Yudhishthira, shows up. Now, Krishna is in a position of ultimate power, but he doesn't wait to be greeted. He jumps down from his own chariot and immediately pays his respects first. It's his profound act of humility, and it suggests that real greatness has no need to be loud about itself. And that humility really opens the door to our next big theme, the magnet of love. This is where we get into the really radical idea that the divine doesn't just love. He can actually be influenced, even guided by the love of his followers. And here's where we hit a major paradox. The supreme controller can be controlled, but not by power or ritual or duty, only by love. The text is super specific about this. He is bound by the loving spirit of his devotees. It's the feeling behind the action that gets to him. Probably the most famous story about this is when his mother, Yashoda, is trying to tie him up for being naughty. She keeps getting more rope, but it's always just 2 inches too short. It's only when she's completely exhausted, just totally frazzled, but still acting out of pure love, that he finally lets her tie him up. So you get this recurring metaphor of a magnet. His qualities are said to be so attractive that his devotees are just pulled towards him like bits of iron. This is used to explain his popularity in general, and as the texts point out, his specific attractiveness to the women of Raja. This deep affection also makes him, well, deeply partial. During the great battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna makes a vow that he won't fight. But when his dear friend, Arjuna, is on the ropes and about to be killed, Krishna completely breaks his own promise. He grabs a chariot wheel to use as a weapon and charges forward to protect him. It just goes to show that his love for a devotee can trump even his own word. Okay, so we've seen the intimate, personal side. Now we're going to zoom way, way out. The canvas is about to expand to cosmic proportions as we look at the qualities that define him as the supreme controller of everything. Let's just start with the quality of being all opulent. Just to give you a sense of scale, when Krishna lived in the city of Dwarka, his own immediate family is said to have had 560 million members. It's a number that's just meant to boggle the mind and communicate an influence beyond anything we can normally imagine. And his place in the divine hierarchy? It's absolute. There's this incredible story where Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, and Lord Shiva, the destroyer, show up for a meeting, and they're told by a doorman to just have a seat on a bench and wait, because Krishna's busy. It's a pretty stark way to show his ultimate authority. So, this is how the cosmic chain of command is laid out. In this worldview, Krishna is the one who gives the orders for reality itself to function. He tells Brahma to create, he directs a form of Vishnu to maintain everything, and he instructs Shiva when it's time to dissolve it all. You can think of them as the great cosmic managers, but he's the CEO. And that brings us to our final section, the inconceivable source. These are the big ones, the qualities that define his actual existence, and they're concepts that are really designed to stretch our minds to the breaking point. At the very heart of all this is a concept called Sat, Chit, Ananda Vigraha. It basically describes what his spiritual form is made of. So let's break it down. Sat means his form is eternal. It exists outside of our ideas of past, present, and future. Chit means it's fully conscious and all-knowing. And Ananda means it is the original source, the reservoir of all possible happiness and bliss. But how do you even begin to visualize a form like that? Well, in a prayer, Lord Brahma gives this stunning image. He says he sees countless universes just pouring out of the pores of Krishna's body, like tiny little dust motes you see dancing in a sunbeam. It's a metaphor for a scale of being that is almost impossible for us to grasp. And from that same unimaginable source, he's described as the origin of all other divine incarnations, or avatars. The text compares them to endless waves constantly emerging from one single ocean. So the idea isn't that Krishna is just one god among many, but that he's the wellspring from which all other forms of divinity flow. His power is called inconceivable for a reason. Apparently, it's so great that it can even affect other major cosmic players. The source says that Krishna has the ability to put even Brahma and Shiva into a state of illusion, which really cements his position as the ultimate source of reality. And this beautiful quote brings us full circle right back to that paradox we started with. How can the all-pervading source of everything be held on his mother's lap? How can the origin of countless forms just look like one person to his parents? And this, right here, is presented as the central, beautiful mystery of the divine. And maybe one of the most unique qualities of all is the mercy he shows to his enemies. According to these texts, any being that Krishna personally defeats in battle is granted liberation, or salvation. It's a type of compassion that just works on a level completely beyond our human ideas of friend versus foe. So in the end, this collection of 64 qualities isn't describing some impersonal energy or an abstract void. It's painting a very detailed, very rich picture of ultimate reality as a person, someone with feelings, relationships, and an infinitely attractive personality. And the question this text really leaves us with is this: what does it mean if the source of everything isn't a what, but a who?